how's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the Movie Castle, and today we're going to be taking a look at Christine from 1983. This is directed by horror legend John Carpenter and stars Keith Gordon, John Stockwell, and Alexandra Paul, and this is based on the novel by Stephen King. And I think that is really cool. I love how a lot of the big horror directors back in the day got to do a Stephen King movie, and we got to see their own unique visions. Obviously, we'd have George Romero with Creepshow, Tobe Hooper with Salem's Lot, and David Cronenberg doing The Dead Zone. So it really is cool to see a horror director master doing an adaptation of the biggest name in horror novels. And boy, was John Carpenter a good pick to do Christine. All the way back in Halloween, you got to see Michael Myers driving the Smith's Grove car around, and you got so much personality and acting just from that tiny little bit of the car in that movie. But we also get the cool grungy stuff that Carpenter can do. I mean, look at the big automotive shop where they fix Christine. That would feel well at home in, like, say, Escape from New York if you just apocalypsed it up a little bit. But of course, Carpenter's like the king of cool, and really kind of the hardest part to buy is people keep saying Christine's an old rust bucket, but no, Christine is like the coolest car ever, and to see real practical effects, people driving the cars around, smashing into things, fire, it's really, really fun. So you get the Carpenter feel, but the Stephen King story, the story about a young outcast guy learning to stick up for himself, learning to grow up, and in fact, how many times has fixing a car been used as a storytelling trope to express coming of age and putting yourself together and changing? But what if we had a corrupt twist on that? What if the obsession with the car went a little bit too much? What if you pushed yourself a little bit too far to defend yourself? What if you crossed that line? I really like the main character in here, Arnie, being a down-on-his-luck nerd, but he's not just a nerd cartoon. You can see him having a friend, you can see him trying to stick up for himself even really early on, and you are really rooting for him, but then he definitely crosses the line, he definitely gives into that obsession, and it's a really good character transformation movie, and there's so many parallels in real life. There's a scene where they're talking to his best friend, and he's like, I haven't seen that guy in a long time, and how many times in life have you seen someone who you knew and loved and cared about, but then they just kind of went off down the wrong path? That's some real emotional weight. So yeah, Christine is about the car. We got cool car stuff. It's the haunted car movie, but it's also a dang good character study, and I absolutely love this. And I feel like this gets a little bit underrated. I mean, obviously everyone knows who Christine is, but I mean, I don't think it's a top 5 Stephen King movie, and I don't think it's a top 5 John Carpenter movie, which I think says more about the rest of their careers than anything else. But still, Christine is cool, and if you haven't seen it by some means, go check it out. It's really, really fun. And yeah, I definitely recommend it. Anyway, from here on out, I do want to take a bit of a look at the plot. I want to break down and analyze a few things and say my piece on the movie in a deeper way. I'll be avoiding the end, so no major spoilers, but from here on out, let's do a bit of a deeper dive. We open up with Arnie Cunningham, the school nerd with the big glasses, and of course he's going to break the trash bag and spill it all over the lawn. But even though they do enough to show us that he's the nerd character, I like that he's not too much of a caricature or too much something from like a comedy movie. He's actually carpooling with a football player, and I like that the two are unlikely friends, and I like that we have a real naturalistic conversation, and little things like him talking about trying to play a dirty word in Scrabble with his parents show that he is eager to rebel and does want to change. This will be very important for later. They go into the first day of school, and another cool thing with this movie is it actually goes from the first day of school till I think around New Year's. So yeah, we last for quite a few months, and that will give us a good time progression later. But anyway, first day of school, they naturally have an encounter with the school bullies, And it's a Stephen King bully who's ready to go way too far and has a switchblade and stuff. And I'll also say it kind of does this thing where, for a minute, Christine pretends like it's going to be a high school comedy, and you do get standard, like, high schooly, laughy, and jokey stuff. It's a little bit gruffer, as was the 80s, but when you go into this bully scene, we can see Carpenter really flip the switch on you. It's not a comedic bully scene. This guy's scary, and when they get a teacher involved, this shop teacher turns the whole thing into a classic John Carpenter pseudo-western, and it gets really intense really fast. But needless to say, old Arnie there now has a few enemies. Well, he's going home, again carpooling with his friend, when he says, "Hey, stop, I saw something back there," and there's this run-down house, and in front of it, a run-down car, where there's Christine all beat up with a for sale sign in her window, and they get to meet this guy. He's got like a back brace, and he's old and has disheveled hair, and he says, "That's Christine. He was my brother's pride and joy, but he's dead now." And we will get to learn a little bit about her lore throughout the movie. I mean, the prologue section is actually Christine spilling blood on the factory floor. So yeah, she's been bad to the bone for a while now. But surprising to his friend, Arnie has to have him at like any cost. And he actually gets her for $250. Which, boy, does that seem cheap by today's standards, even for something as old as that. But he just loves her from the start, and that's where we get a scene where he kind of rebels against his parents. The football player friend's there, and he's like, "I try to talk him out of it," and Arnie actually drops the F word in front of his mom, but doesn't back down. "If you won't let me keep her here, I'll find some other place. You're not taking away my car." The car is a symbol of freedom. It's a symbol of independence. He wants it, and in this initial sequence, good job, Arnie. Good job not backing down. Good job keeping your independence. We will go too far later, but we have to see where the line is. And here he's taking his first steps closer to it. Since they won't let him keep it at home, he finds a do-it-yourself garage. And there's a really fun character bit that I love with Arnie and the garage owner. We start off with Arnie driving the car into the garage and Christine's just bellowing out plumes of smoke, and then this nerdy kid gets out, and of course the owner of the garage doesn't take him seriously, swears at him, calls him a little creep. But then we get time progressing. We get to see Christine getting rebuilt, and we get the garage owner kind of having more respect for him as time goes on, even offering him part-time work. And again, I do like that. I like seeing the growth. I like seeing him starting off as like really bookish, but no, I'm doing manual labor now. That's really cool. But eventually the bullies will come back and cross Christine. Not just Arnie, but do some damage to Christine. And after that, we'll see Christine cruising around with the windows tinted so you can't tell who's inside, if anybody, but going around and getting some good old violent revenge. You combine all that going on with Arnie definitely crossing the line. He's somehow managed to get the popular girl in school, but all of a sudden they're having fights and she starts to get jealous of his attention with the car. And you have to worry, is Christine going to take out her jealousy on the girlfriend character? Now, one thing I will say is I do wish the two good guy characters got a little bit more screen time. Like, the football guy will do something that will keep him out of commission for a large chunk of the movie, and it takes the girlfriend character a bit to really get into the plot. I kinda wish those two had more to do, but again, it really is Arnie and Christine's movie, so maybe don't get distracted. And another one of the flaws is maybe a few times the deaths are a little bit implausible, but whatever, it's still very creative. Again, for a car movie, it could just be running people over and that's it. I like trying something new and different. But overall, yeah, this one really does work. It's a character study. It's about this guy fighting for more independence, more respect, trying to make his own way in the world, but at some point crossing that line, at some point becoming about obsession, the thing that he saw as his tool to break him out of this, is going to pull him into some other form of oppression. I really do like that idea and that message. And overall, it's just a really cool Carpenter movie as well. So yeah, if you haven't seen Christine, definitely check it out. It's really cool. It's the killer car movie. And hey, it's a Stephen King, John Carpenter collaboration as well. That's always super sweet. Anyway though, to everyone who's watched so far, thank you for watching. To everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you. You really are helping the channel out. I'll leave a relevant playlist on the bottom. If you guys want to see me talk about more movies kind of like this, feel free to click right here and see more. Anyway, have a good day. I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Playlist here. Have a good day now.